looking out for people who have a great vernacular, a great way to tell a new story. And at that time, I heard the story of Dan Eldon. He published these journals, and his journals were amazing. He recaptured the art of the diary and turned it into fine art. He reprocessed his experience. And my friends and I bought these books. We were blown away by the artwork of Dan Eldon. But Dan was much more than just an artist. He was also an activist. He lived in Africa, and he traveled around Africa, organized transport for refugees in Malawi. He was also a photographer. And he was one of the first war zone photographers to go in and photograph the humanitarian crisis in Somalia. And these photos were picked up by Reuters and distributed to magazines and newspapers all over the world. And they moved nations to act. His photographs, his stories, caused nations to take action. And the UN sent troops in to Somalia. So this one person, with his art, with his storytelling, was able to move nations to action. Now, Dan had a very short life. And Dan died when he was 22 years old. He was killed in combat in Mogadishu. But he actually touched thousands and thousands of lives. And his mother, Kathy Eldon, started a foundation in his honor, and she invited me to join the board of directors. And this foundation has had a profound impact. It's called the Creative Visions Foundation, and we back creative activists. Those are people, a creative activist is someone who takes a story, who does some social good and tells a story around it. And so they're structuring the meaning in their experience out in the field, and then they're broadcasting that meaning with every means they have, through the internet, through a documentary, and through a book. Let me give you some examples. Jessica Mayberry started an organization called Video Volunteers in India. And Video Volunteers goes out to rural villages where many of the people are illiterate. There's so many illiterate people, they don't even distribute newspapers. They're off the grid completely in India, and as a result, they're underrepresented in media. She realized she can't teach everybody to read, but she could teach one person in each village to tell a video, to make a video, and she's done that now. 350 villages have been wired up, and they're now starting to tell the stories of their lives. And the stories that they're telling expose corruption, bribery, rape, land theft. She's moving the nation, and now those stories are starting to be shown on television. She's created a little network where they actually take the videos out to the region, out to the field. They'll take them into the villages, and people get to watch the stories of each other, so they get validation that their other villages are having these same experiences. So she's single-handedly creating this network of video. Here's another creative activist. This is Barton Brooks. Now, Barton likes to get his hands dirty, as you can see in the picture. You won't find him in an office. You'll find him in Uganda, or you'll find him in Cambodia, or perhaps in Haiti. His project is simplicity itself. It's called Guerrilla Aid, one person, no organization. And what he does is he goes to a community in need. He'll find small communities that aren't getting attention from big organizations. He goes out to a community in need and takes an inventory of what they need, and then he posts it on his blog. He'll post a video, he'll post a photo, and he'll invite people who are looking at his blog from all over the world to PayPal him the money. He says, if you wire me the money, I'll put that water system in. I'll build that shelter for those kids. I'll build an orphanage. And he's done this again and again and again with Guerrilla Aid. He was one of the first to build schools. He was on the ground in Haiti right after the earthquake. And he organized the communities there to rebuild the first 2 schools that were rebuilt. He bypassed that whole system of volunteer support and aid organizations that came in. He got people moving immediately. Another example is Dana Gluckstein. Dana's been a successful commercial photographer for 30 years. But on the side, she's cultivated an interest. She's been taking photographs of indigenous people, tribes people. Everywhere she goes in the world for work, she always takes time to go find the indigenous people, and she'll take their photographs. And these photos are incredibly beautiful photos. In the mute expression on a tribesman's face, she tells volumes about their experience in the world. And when it came time for her to publish the book, Dignity, and to have a gallery exhibition for it, she decided to do something more than just a gallery exhibition. She used it as a springboard for an advocacy campaign to make the world aware of indigenous peoples and to make the world aware that there was a declaration that was voted on in the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Now this declaration, this UN declaration, had been signed on and voted, everybody in the UN except for 4 countries that voted against it. Those 4 countries were Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the United States of America. To our great shame, we didn't want to sign or endorse this Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People, and so Dana used her gallery exhibition to generate awareness, to generate outcry, to generate action, and people took action. They signed the Amnesty International petition. I'm thrilled to tell you that in December, President Obama indicated that the United States would be the last country to sign that Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People, so she made that accomplishment. Now, these are just stories of 3 of the creative activists, and I'm well aware that Creative Visions Foundation is not the only foundation in the world that is supporting creative activists. In fact, we're proud of the fact that this is a worldwide trend. People are reclaiming their narrative voice. And what they're discovering in the process is that they don't need a store-bought identity. And they don't need the easy answers from television. They're starting to perceive the world in a different way. They're starting to understand the world as a series of urgent questions. Questions like, why is this situation happening? Why is this the case? How can I change it? What can I do? What resources do I have within me to make a change? And then they tell that story to the world. They're using the incredible tools of social media, personal broadcasting to get that message out to the world. And what I would like to encourage everybody in the audience today to do is to seize that power. Go out now and reclaim your power to tell a personal narrative. Use your social media to tell people about what you care most about. Use your power to express those concerns that you've got. Answer the difficult questions that you're facing in life. If you can't go to Haiti or Cambodia and make a change, then find someone who is and support them and endorse them. That's something that you can do. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your support.